Hi there, Scott Hamilton, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast for your ears. I just read something, and I got to talk about it. So as you know, I've been in radio quite some time. I've been in rock and radio almost the entire time. I'm a huge fan of rock music, even before I was in radio, and it's only gotten worse since I've gotten into it. I've been backstage, I've been on stage, I've interviewed these bands, talked to these bands, been hanging out with these bands on the buses. I've done all that stuff that you wish you could do. I'm very excited that I got to do that in my life. And over the years, more technology creeps into it, right? And so several years ago, I was interviewing a young band. You might know who they are. I'm not going to mention it. And they had computer problems on stage. And they explained to me how they used their laptops and the software to create a bit of background. They didn't use it for to replace a guitar player, replace a keyboard player, or anything like that. It was more to keep rhythms going, maybe some sound effects, maybe some other stuff that goes with the mix or whatever, and they could trigger it and change it as they went. It wasn't like playing to a tape or anything. And I remember that night they had some problems where they just said, screw it, we're going to turn this off and we're just going to play. And I said, that's the way it ought to be done. You take all the technology away from rock and roll, the songs are still good, you should be able to play them, right? So this band today, Falling in Reverse, very popular band, sold millions of records. I've played a lot of their records. I'm not a big fan of the band personally, but they've made some hits, and I play them. I play their current song on the radio. And the lead singer had to do a video today, Ronnie Radke, because they were supposed to play an event on Saturday, and they couldn't play. They canceled over missing laptops. He made a video saying he doesn't usually make videos like this. He addressed the crowd and said that it's like driving a car without an engine. We showed up to rehearse. We just came off tour. We don't need a lot of rehearsing, but we showed up to rehearsal. We're in our space. We're ready to rehearse once. No laptops. We can't run our show without our laptops. So we apologize to everybody. We could blame whoever didn't get our laptops in here, blah, 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 blah. So I just read that and it kind of flew all over me because I remembered my friends, who are my friends now in this young band. They were an opening act for a major artist, and I saw them have these problems on stage where they literally shut the laptop down and just continued playing the show. And asked them about it later, and that's when they explained to me what happened. So that I read this now, this is years later, that a band bigger, more popular, more money, bigger record label, all that stuff can't go on because they don't have their laptops. I have a problem with that. Nothing personally against the band. Like I said, they have some hits I play on the radio. I don't know them personally, so I don't really have anything to say personally. But I have a problem with any band who can't just pick up their instruments and go out and play. Now, they're going to make all these excuses that their songs were built on that or the rhythms were in there. They just couldn't. I don't know. I have always said in the rock industry, if you over-rely on the technology, you're going to lose sight of the music. You're going to lose the passion in the product. I do what I do because I'm passionate about it. Most musicians do what they do because they're passionate about it. Sure, they want to be rich, famous, get girls, whatever. But the bottom underlying reason why a lot of us do what we do in this industry is because we absolutely freaking love it. We would rather do nothing else. So these guys who got into this because they would rather do nothing else can't perform a big festival appearance because they don't have laptop computers. They're a rock band. I know a lot of their music and a lot of modern music, and this is going to lead to a podcast I'm working on. See, why this bothered me today, for the last couple of days, I've been working on a podcast in my head. I've never really talked about that. A lot of times my podcasts are a review of something I just watched or listened to, and that's easy to do, right? But other times I get something stuck in my head and it's there for 2-3 days and I kind of come up with how I want to talk about it before I sit down. I don't write anything down. I don't make an outline or anything like that, but I get kind of the line of thought in my head that I can start with, and then I go that stream of consciousness that you get used to listening to me on these podcasts. I have no outlines. I make no notes. When I do the upcoming YouTube stuff and we do deeper videos and more research videos and more of that, then I'll have notes and stuff. But when I do these personal things where I just read something and I have to sit down and talk about it, this is like me being on my own personal radio station, being able to stop the music and just go, let's talk about this for a second. That's kind of how I treat the podcasts. It's like a long radio break. And this is a band that's popular in the formats I play, saying that they can't perform a show because of technology. Not because they didn't have guitar strings, not because the drummer doesn't have sticks, not because their equipment didn't show up, because they didn't have computers that sequence things and go on with what they do. That bothers me on the fact that they should have been able to pull out acoustics and just do acoustic set. They should have been able to do something. They're musicians, play music. They couldn't do the show they planned. I get that. And maybe the stage show, the lighting, the triggers, all that stuff is timed to what's in the laptops. And that's how a lot of shows are built these days. I'm not saying anything against that. But as a touring band, a band that's been around for many years and a band who has quite the following, you should be able to put aside the technology and go, we're going to do something different tonight. I've seen it. I've seen bands that were going to do one of my favorite bands was going to do an in-store record performance, and they got to this place in Orlando, and the stage wasn't big enough for 2 of them, much less all 5 of them. So the lead singer sat down with a guitar and a fuzz box and an effects box and played. To my knowledge, he had never done anything like that before in his career, but he did it. Not only was it great, it was recorded and released as a CD. It was that good. It was that different. To the 300 people that were in the audience, it was amazing. To people that have listened to it later, they've never heard him sound like that before. But that's what he did that night because the band couldn't play. He did something, and it's epic. It never heard anything like it before. Never heard him do anything like that before. Why couldn't they do that? So again, I was an actor in high school and college. Like I said, I've been backstage at thousands of shows. I get it. Something breaks your concentration. There have been many times in my current position, I'm getting ready to record a break or a commercial, and somebody knocks on the door, walks by the door, and makes a face, and I lose my train of thought, and I have to stop a minute. And I'm not being a temperamental air talent. It just sometimes happens. So I can see that you walk into a rehearsal space and your laptops are not there and you can't perform the show that you've planned to perform. I can see how it could throw you. But you're also getting paid quite a bit of money to do a festival appearance on a Saturday. And at the level of their band, they may not have been headlining, but they were pretty far down the list, I'm sure. I am shocked that any national touring band will come out and say, because we didn't have laptop, make up something. COVID, use that. People are still using that, right? And again, I don't boycott the band or anything like that. I'm just shocked that a band would, and I'm sure something's going to come out about this. But this leads into a podcast that I'll be posting soon. There's a reason why rock and roll survives. There's a reason why some formats of music survive, because there's a purity to it. And right now we have a trend in rock and roll to start mixing in pop-leaning vocals, pop sounds, pop. I guess we're chasing Spotify. I'm not really sure why it's happening, but it's happening to fairly middling results. I mean, yeah, some of these songs are hits for a while, but they don't last. And they're being eclipsed as Ozzy or somebody else releases a new song that's just a rock song. Without all this, I'm a boy band production on this song. If you want to be a rock band, be a rock band. And you don't have to be, I can't wait for the first person to say, well, you're just not opening your mind. Folks, I have a progressive rock station that plays 12-minute songs that would blow your mind. Don't tell me my mind's not open for different and strange things. I'm all about doing something different with rock and roll. That being said, you're going for airplay on rock radio, rock playlists on whatever streaming service or whatever. Be a rock band. You're not going to differentiate yourself by not sounding like a rock band. There's a lot of bands that they're asking me to play that I just can't. It comes on, it doesn't sound like a rock song. It doesn't fit what we do. Nothing against the song. Some of the songs are actually quite good, but I don't know where it would go. Maybe on a top 40 station? And it gets too heavy later in the song for that. So I don't know who these producers are or whatever, but I think in the end goal, you want your fans to listen to it and you want your fans to buy it. And if radio can't play it, Spotify's not playing it in the right playlist because it doesn't sound like it. I'm someone who would really like to get back to the days when music was just music. A lot of music that came out in the 70s was just a song or an album We didn't call it a rock album or a new metal album or a black gothic, blackened metal album. You know, we are so splintered these days with all the different genres because we have to be able to say, well, this is what this band sounds like. I've always been the one, what does this band sound like? Well, it sounds like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Somewhere in between those two bands, you'll find this band. That's what I say. But anyway, I'm getting off the topic. Be a rock band and be able to capture the moment, whatever happens. Your stage gear doesn't show up, then go out and play an acoustic show. Do something. Don't disappoint the fans. This is show business. So I would like to know more about Falling in Reverse not being able to play because they didn't have laptops. Let's see what fallout happens from this. I'm just now reading the story. I guess this happened Saturday. This is Tuesday night. I just saw it. I'm posting about it. What do you think? Contact me. I'd love to hear about it. And if you love the band, am I being hard on them? I don't know. Like I said, if I hadn't seen a young up-and-coming band who relied on technology in much the same way, and for them to toss it out for a night because they had to, that's professionalism. That is what I would do. I was a trumpet player. I was in concert symphonic jazz bands. I was in bands that played professionally and got paid. Things happen. You just have to, it's show business. The show must go on. I'm surprised the show didn't go on with these guys. What do you think? Scott Hamilton, I'm ROCKFILE. My links are below. I hope you're liking the new setup. I think it sounds pretty good. Still a few tweaks to go, but I'm liking it. Let me know. Again, thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to any podcast. I think it's wonderful. And have a spectacular day.